example, the same example, but let's take a look at the context of a multiple choice question. You'll more than likely find a comparative advantage question in the multiple choice section. There is a good probability that you might find it in the FRQ, but usually maybe an FRQ question with comparative advantage will come maybe once every 4 or 5 years. But it's bound to come up on the multiple choice portion of the exam. And that is going to be worth 2/3 of your grade. So if you think about it, the multiple choice section is definitely something that you do want to focus on, and being able to take some strategies as well as knowing how to specifically figure out these questions. But again, knowing test-taking strategies to be able to eliminate certain things, and a couple of things that'll help you eliminate incorrect responses there. So here's the particular question. In India, a car can be produced by 8 workers in 1 day, and a computer by 3 workers in 1 day. So in the country of India, you have a car that can be produced by 8 workers, or a computer by 3 workers there. Now, in the US, a car can be produced by 8 workers as well in 1 day, and a computer by 2 workers in one day. Which of the following statements is true? Again, some questions will say which one is false. This happens to be a question that says which one is true here. So in the good old United States of America, they make 1 car with 8 workers, and just like they do in India. So they're neutral. So there's no one that has an absolute advantage. Now, in terms of car production, the U.S. Can make, or in terms of computer production, U.S. can use 2 workers, whereas India requires 3 workers. Okay, stop right there. There's a tie in car production, and the U.S. wins in computer production. So stop right there. U.S. has comparative advantage in cars, and therefore India has comparative advantage in the U.S. has comparative advantage in computers, because they use 2 workers as opposed to India, 3 workers. So the U.S. comparative advantage in computers, and India has comparative advantage in cars. So it's good to figure out your plan of attack prior to looking at the answer choices. So if you have the luxury of time and you can actually figure out certain things before looking at the answer choices, I definitely recommend that. So India has absolute advantage in making computers. Well, we figured out here that no, it's a US, they can make it using less workers. So this is going to be wrong, absolutely wrong here. So let's mark this off. A is not a possible answer choice. India has absolute advantage in making cars. Well, they both use 8 workers here, so neither has absolute advantage in making cars. Okay, the US has comparative advantage in making cars. Well, here I have U.S. has comparative advantage in making computers. So this is going to be wrong here. But you know what? Let's say, hypothetically, let's say for some reason I made a mistake. And initially I actually did make a mistake. So maybe you do want to exit out, but put a weak X right here. India has comparative advantage in making computers. Well, India has comparative advantage in making cars right here. And this is computers. So this is wrong. But again, I'm going to put another weak X to that. And then finally, India has comparative advantage in making cars, which is what I have right here, and therefore that is the correct answer here. Now, what's kind of interesting is, let's say you had no idea what the answer was. Based on logic here, you know that one country has to have comparative advantage in the other. Well, guess what? If the US has comparative advantage in making cars, India has comparative advantage in making computers, if that were the case. So C or D, if it's correct, both of them have to be true, and therefore both of them are going to be incorrect, because E would be the only unique answer. So obviously there's a way to get this if you absolutely understand how to do this, but using some testing logic and also some principles of comparative advantage, you'll be able to get this answer by the process of elimination. Again, that's a good test-taking strategy that can be applied in any possible test, but also the AP Macroeconomics exam. Thank you for watching Educator.com.